In this video, you will see how to build this amazing button sheet, okay? As you can see, every time we tap on this plus button, we have this button sheet. And if I drag this up, you can see that it will take the full screen of the app. And if I drag it down, you can see that it will only take 70% of the screen height, okay? And if I come here and I tap here, for example, it will go away. And also, if I drag this down, it will also go away, okay? So as I said, in this video, you will see step by step how to accomplish this result, okay? So let me put this guy here, okay? And we can focus on our code. So in order to have our button sheet, what we can do, we can come on this whole view, and what we want to add this sheet. So it's going to be that sheet. And we need to provide this is presented. So this is presented is simply to tell SwiftUI when exactly we want to present our sheet, okay? So what we can do here, we can create a boolean here, okay? We can create a boolean here called is showing sheet, okay? So it's gonna to be that state private var is showing sheet. And by default, we want it to be false. Okay, perfect. Now that we have this, what we want to do, we want to come back on this is presented and we want to provide this is showing sheet, okay? So I can simply copy this and give it here. And now what we want to do, we want to provide the content for this sheet, okay? So here for the content, for now, we can simply add a text and we can call it our button sheet. Okay, perfect. Now what we want to do, every time we tap on this button, we want to show a sheet, okay? So every time we tap on this, what we want to do, we want to change this property to true, okay? So let us go to our button, and this is our button. So here for the action, what we want to do, we want to call this is showing on sheet, and we want to set it to true. Now every time we tap on this button, normally the sheet is supposed to pop up. And as you can see, we have a sheet, okay, a button sheet, okay? So this is perfect. But what we want to do, the result we want is not just on our button sheet. We want to have this, okay? And in order to have this, what we can do, we can create a view for this button sheet, okay? Because we don't want to add this view directly here, okay? So what we can do, we can simply create another view and we simply replace this text by the view we created, okay? So let's go ahead, and if we come here and do a right click on this node master, we want to create a new file, and that file is going to be a SwiftUI view, okay? So we can click on next, and for the name we can call it node sheet. We click on create. Okay, perfect. And in this node sheet, what we want to have this view, okay? So the first thing we want here is this title and description, okay? So here, instead of this text, what we want to do, we want to replace this with a vista. And inside this vista, what we want to add a text field. Here for the placeholder, we can add on this title. And now for the text, what we want to do, we want to create a state property here. So it's gonna to be state private var title. And we want to initialize it to an empty string. Okay, now that we have this title, what we can do, we can come back here on this text and we can bind this to the title we just created. So it's going to be on $ that title. And normally we are supposed to see our title, okay, in our simulator. And as you can see, we have on this title. I don't know if you guys can see, but this is the title, okay? So now we can style our title or a text field. So here we can add a font. And we want it to be on that headline. So it will make the title a little bit bigger, okay? Okay, now the next thing we want to do, we want to add this divider, okay? So here, after this text field, what we want to do, we want to come here and add this divider. And it will add a divider, and I still don't know if you guys can see. Maybe let me close this to make it more visible. So I think this is way better, okay? And one thing we also want to do, we want to add a padding, okay? Because here, for example, for this divider, as you can see in the finish app, we have a space here, and we also have a space on the right, okay? So what we want to do also on this text field, we want to come here and add a padding. And we also want to do the same thing for this divider, so that padding. Okay, perfect. Now the next thing we want to do, we want to add this on description, okay? And for this description, you might think that we will use the text field, but yeah, because we want the description to be large, okay, we want it to be on multiple lines. So yeah, instead of a text field, what we want to add is a text editor. So let's go ahead and add our text editor. So it's gonna to be text editor. And here for the text, what we want to do, we want to create another state property here. So what we can do, we can simply copy this and paste it again. And here instead of title, what we want to do, we want to call it description. And here we can simply copy this description and provide it here for our text. The only problem we have with this text editor is that we don't have a placeholder, okay? Because here for this text field, we have this placeholder so that the user knows that he has to enter a title here, okay? But for this text editor, we don't have any placeholder, okay? In fact, if I don't tell you that there is a placeholder here, you wouldn't tell, okay? But there is a placeholder because I can enter a text here, okay? So our challenge now is to add by ourselves a placeholder for this text editor, okay? And the way I found to add a placeholder is simply to add another text, okay? And now every time that we focus on this text editor, we want to hide our text, okay? And don't worry guys, if this is confusing, I will explain it step by step, okay? So yeah, the logic we want to do, we want to add another text, okay? And we want to put it inside a Z stack. So first thing first, let us do a right click on this text editor and we want to embed this inside a Z stack, okay? And now for this inside this Z stack, what we want to do, we want to add another text. And on this text, we want to put our placeholder, okay? So it's gonna to be description. And now we want our text to be here, okay? At the top leading, okay? As you can see on the finish app, okay? Because we want it to act like a placeholder, okay? So we want it to be at the top leading. So what we can do on this Z stack, what we want to do, we want to add an alignment. And we want the alignment to be at the top leading. Okay, perfect. So now it will add this at the top leading, okay? So now what we want to do, we want to, every time we focus on this text editor, so every time the user tap on this text editor and start typing the text, we want to hide this description, okay? So that's the logic we want to do. So because the text editor doesn't have a placeholder, that's the reason why we added this text, okay? Because we want the user to know that he has to enter a text description, okay? But now if the user tap on this text editor, what we want to do, we want to hide this description, okay? As you can see here. So here, if I tap on this title, the text description is supposed to be seen, okay? But if I tap on this text editor, we are supposed to hide this description, okay? So how can we achieve this? So in order to achieve this, what we want to do, we want to know when this text editor is being focused, okay? So we want to know when the user tap on this text editor, okay? So in order to do that, what we have on this text editor, we have a property called .focused. And this .focus will return a boolean, okay? So every time the user tap on this text editor, it will return a boolean. And what we want to do, we want to store that property, okay? So here on top of our view, what we want to do, we want to create a boolean called isDescriptionFocus, okay? So here it's gonna to be focus state var isDescriptionFocus, and it's gonna to be a boolean. Now every time that the user tap on this text editor, we want to store the boolean inside this property, okay? So here on this .focus, we want to paste this on isDescriptionFocus, okay? So now every time that this is focus, we will have this value inside this isDescriptionFocus, okay? So now what we want to do, every time that we tap on this, we want to hide this text, okay? And how can we hide this text? There is a property called .hidden. So if I tap .hidden, as you can see, .hidden will make this description go away, okay? But now we have a problem because we want to hide this only when this is focused, okay? Only when this text editor is focused, okay? As you can see, if the user is trying to enter this title, we want to show that he also has to enter the description, okay? So yeah, how can we achieve this result? In order to achieve this result, what we can do, we can create an extension of our view, okay? So here, if we come up here, we can create an extension of a view. And inside this extension of view, what we want to do, we want to implement our own hidden property, okay, because we want to provide a boolean, okay, inside this hidden, because right now this, if I click on this hidden doesn't take any property, okay, it doesn't take a boolean, so it will just hide our view. But what we want to do, we want to provide a boolean to this hidden. So in case the boolean is true, we want to hide this text description, but in case it's false, we don't want to hide this, okay. So yeah, let us go back to this extension view, and what we want to do, we want to implement our own hidden property, okay. And as we said, we want it to take a boolean, okay, so it's gonna to be should hide, and the type of course is boolean. And now what we want to return, we want to return a view, okay. And now the view we are supposed to return will be based on this should hide, okay. So yeah, in case this should hide is true, we want to hide on this view, and in case it's false, we don't want to hide the view, okay. So yeah, switch this should hide. In case this is true, what we want to do, we want to take this view self and we want to hide this view, okay. So self that hidden. But in case this is false, what we want to return, we simply want to return the view itself. Okay, let me explain this. So here we created an extension of a view, okay. So a view, and we know that this text is a view, okay. So what we are doing here, we create an extension of this view, and we create the extension because we simply want to also provide this that hidden, okay. So we create an extension of this view, and what we are saying is this hidden, we will take this should hide, which is a boolean, okay. And in case this should hide is true, what we want to do, we want to apply this that hidden. So we want to do the same thing that we did here, okay. So this that hidden, so in case that is true, it will return the view. The view in this case will be this text, okay. So it will return this on self, meaning the text that hidden, okay. So basically it will return this text that's the hidden. So instead of this self, it will simply return this text that hidden, okay. So this is what this self means. So it will simply return the view, in our case the text, and we return this that hidden, okay. And in case it's false, we want to return the view. So in case it's false, what we are going to return is simply just that text description without the that hidden, okay. So we will return something like this, okay, in our case. So, and why are we doing this? We are doing this because every time we focus on this text editor, we want to hide a text, okay. So here, if I go back here, every time we tap on this title, we want to show this text. So we want to show this false, okay, so the view itself. And every time we tap on this text editor, we want to hide this text, okay. So I don't know if I did a good job explaining this, guys. So please let me know in the description if you got it, and if that's not the case, maybe I can do another video to explain it more, okay. But for now, what we want to do here, instead of this hidden, we want to provide our own hidden, okay. And our own hidden, we take this should hide boolean, okay. So we can simply copy this and go back on our hidden, and here instead of this empty hidden, we want to provide this should hide, okay. But yeah, because we added this one, okay, we don't actually need to provide a name, okay. So instead of this should hide, what we can do, we can simply provide this boolean is description focus, okay. So I can replace this should hide by this is description focus. So now every time we focus on this text editor, so every time I put the focus on this text editor, as you can see, this description will be hidden, okay. And every time I tap on this title, you can see the description, okay, because every time we tap on this title, this is description will be false, okay. And because it's false, we can see the description, okay. So now the next thing we want to do, we want to style our description. So here for the font height, we want it to be light, and we also want to change the foreground color, okay, because as you can see, this is too dark, okay. In our finish up, this is it's not that black, okay. So after this font weight, what we want to do, we want to provide this that foreground color, and we want it to be that black, and we also want to add an opacity, so opacity, and we can set the opacity to be on 0.25, and as you can see, we'll reduce the opacity, okay. And here the next thing we want to do, we also want to add some padding. So here on that padding, but for our padding, we only want it to be on the horizontal aspect, okay? And as you can see, we'll align it perfectly. And now every time we tap on this text editor, you can see that the description will go away, okay? And when we tap on this title, it will show the description. And we also need to add the padding on this text editor, because right now, if I tap on this text editor, you can see that it starts here, okay? So what we want to do on this text editor, we also want to add the padding, and we want the padding to be on horizontal. Okay, perfect. So now if I tap again on this text editor, it's supposed to start at the same line that this description, okay? Okay, perfect. The next thing we want to add is this two buttons, okay? So here, how can we add this button at the very top of the of our button sheet? So what we can do, we can go back on this vista, and what we want to do here on this vista, we want to add a toolbar. So it's gonna to be that toolbar. And for our toolbar, what we want to do, we want to add something called a toolbar item group. And now here, inside this toolbar item group, we can provide a button, okay? So we can start with this cancel button. So it's going to be button. For the name, as I said, cancel. And for now, every time we click on it, we can simply say it won't do anything, okay? So normally we are supposed to see a button, but we don't see a button, okay? But simply because we are supposed to add this toolbar inside the navigation stack, okay? So here on this vista, what we can do, we can come here and do a right click, and we want to embed it inside the Z stack. But here, instead of this Z stack, what we want to do, we want to change it to navigation stack. And now normally we are supposed to see a button, and as you can see, we have this cancel button, okay? But here we don't want this button to be at the very right, okay? Because as you can see, this is supposed to be at the left. So what we can do on this item group, we can specify the placement, okay? So here is going to be placement, and we want it to be at the top bar leading. And as you can see, the cancel button will move to the left, okay? And now what we have to do is simply style our button. So as you can see here, we have a background. So let us do that. The first thing we want to do is to specify the frame. So that frame. And for the frame, we want a width of 100 and a height of 40. Okay, perfect. Now that we have the frame, we can add a background color. That background, and we want the color to be red. And as you can see, we have a red background. Now, instead of this blue text, we want to change it to white. So here we can play with the foreground color. So that foreground color, and we want it to be white. Okay, perfect. Now we can also play with the shape, okay? So here, after this background, we want to add this clip shape. And we don't want a cycle shape. What we want is a rounded rectangle. And yeah, for this rounded rectangle, we have to specify the corner radius. And yeah, for our corner radius, we want it to be 20. So normally it's supposed to work, okay, and it's looking good. The last thing we want to do, we want to add a shadow, okay, because as you can notice, we have a slight shadow here, okay. So here, if we come back on this, so after this clip shape, what we want to do, we want to add this shadow, that shadow. And for the color of our shadow, it's going to be gray. And for the radius, it's going to be 5. Okay, perfect. Now the next thing we want to do the same thing for this save button, okay? And since it's going to be exactly the same thing except for the color and the text, so what we can do, we can simply come on this toolbar item group, and we can copy this and paste it right after our toolbar item group. Okay, now for the placement, we don't want it to be at the top bar leading, but instead we want it to be at the top bar trailing. Okay, and we also want to change this text. So instead of cancel, it's going to be save. Okay, perfect. And now we also want to change this color. Instead of the color red, what we want here is the green color. And it's looking good. The only thing I've noticed when I was doing this video is that this save button doesn't look aligned, okay? It doesn't look on center to this button, okay? So the text itself doesn't look center. So what we can do here, instead of simply say save, what we can do, we can create another button here. And here for our button, the action, for now we can leave it empty. And now for the content of our button, what we can do here is to provide an h tag. Okay, so here is going to be h tag. And now inside our h tag, what we can do, we can simply provide a spacer. So it's going to be spacer. And then we can add our text. And lastly, add another spacer. Okay, so I can copy this and paste it here. And now we can remove this button and simply keep the style. Okay, so as you can see, the result will still be the same, but I feel like this is more center, okay, because of this h tag. Okay, because when I put those two spacer, it will center our text in the middle of this button. Okay, now I think this is looking good. The next thing we want to do, we want to go back inside our content view. Okay, and here, as we said, every time we tap on this button, we don't want to display this text, okay, but instead we want to display our note sheet. Okay, so here, instead of this text, what we want to do, we want to remove this text and we want to provide a note sheet. So here we go. If we provide this note sheet, now every time we tap on this, we're supposed to have this, okay, and it's working perfectly. But now, as you notice, every time we tap on this one, it takes almost the full height of the screen. Okay, but in our finish app, when we tap on this one, it will only take like 17% of the height of the screen. So how can we accomplish this? So in order to accomplish this, here on this note sheet, what we can do, we can add something called a presentation dentents. And inside this presentation dentents, what we want to do, we want to provide an array of values. Okay, and because we want it to be based on the screen height, what we can do here, we can provide just a fraction. So here we have a specific value, like for example medium. So if I select medium, as you can see, if I tap now, it will only take like half of the screen. Okay, and if I select that large, if I come here and I tap on this, you can see that it will take almost the full height of the screen. Okay, but as I said, what we want, we don't want those predefined value. What we want to do, we want to provide a fraction. Okay, so here we can also provide this fraction, and for our fraction, what we want to do, we want it to take 70% of the screen height. Okay, so if I precise this on 0.7, now it will take 70% of the screen height. Okay, and of course you can play with this. If I provide only 0.1, if I tap on this, it will only take like 1% of the screen height. Okay, but for the sake of this video, what we want is 0.7. Okay, so if I tap on this one, it will only take 70% of the screen height. Okay, and as you can see, I cannot make it bigger. Okay, but in a finished app, it takes 70% of the screen height. But if we want it to take like the full height of our screen, we can also do that. So how can we achieve this? In order to achieve this, here we can also provide another property. Okay, so here after this fraction, we also want it to take the full height of our screen. Okay, so we can provide this that large. So now if we provide this fraction and that large, every time we tap on this one, we also have the possibility to extend it to the full height of the screen. Okay, so and which is pretty cool. Okay, so if I tap on this one, at first it takes 70% of the screen height, but I can also expand it to take the full height of the screen. Okay, which is cool. So that's it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If that's the case, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.